Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. Today we're talking about obesity myths busted. Okay, so there's a lot of misconception about what causes obesity. People who are overweight and obesity, we like to say and think terrible things about them, but I'm going to help you understand a little bit better. Okay, so we're going to look at the myths. And one of those is bariatric surgery, that it will be the answer to your weight loss. So we'll be covering that at the end of this clip. But before I do, does everyone have their body mass index or BMI? If you don't, down in the links below is a link to the Heart Foundation. If you enter your height and your weight, it will come up with where you are on a scale of underweight, healthy, overweight, and obese. It's good to know your score, and you could be surprised. So, but getting back to the myths. Myth number 1. Obesity is caused by lifestyle factors. Is this true? Well, you could say that if you're going to eat a lot of junk food, yes, it is going to cause weight gain, particularly if you're not moving. So, you know, what you eat and how much you move actually do help determine whether you can be or gain weight. However, it's not the only thing. There are things like medical conditions that you may have. It could be medications that you're on. Things like cortisone tend to make you gain weight, and it's difficult to lose weight on that particular medication. So there's a number of things that we need to consider when we talk about why we could be overweight or obese. So it's not just what we eat, it's a number of things. Other things that also affect us are things like how much we sleep at night. If you're not getting enough sleep, that's a problem as well. It's our stress levels. What are we doing to manage our stress? So there are all a number of factors that actually contribute to weight gain and obesity. And, you know, so one size or one treatment, or, you know, let's do this, let's do that. One thing does not fix all for everyone, because everyone is different and everyone needs a different plan for overweight or obesity. So that's number 1. Myth number 2. Everyone can lose weight with willpower. Now, why is it that we think that people who are overweight or obese don't have willpower? Like they can't say no to food that's in front of them? Well, that might be some people, but that's not everyone. It's not the willpower only why people eat or why they don't exercise. This is a common misconception that overweight or obese people are fat, lazy, need to get out more and exercise. Dumb is also things that I've heard termed by participants who have actually been in my study. Now, I did a master's in health and I did a research thesis. And in that study, a number of participants actually discussed and told their story of their weight gain from the very beginning to where they are now. And all the participants in the study actually could lose weight, which for me as a health professional was quite eye-opening. You know, I probably, like many other health professionals, tended to categorize obese people, or those with obesity is the correct terminology, into a certain group. And, you know, I'm more aware now. And, you know, and that's education, that's from reading lots and lots of journals, and that's also from talking to people and listening to their stories. every one of the participants in the study actually could lose weight. The only thing was that they couldn't keep it off. So they would lose 30 kilos. 30 kilos is a lot of weight. They could lose 30 kilos. They were motivated enough to lose 30 kilos. But then they just couldn't keep it off. So those participants in my study, they could lose weight. They just couldn't sustain it. And the problem with obesity is that it's not an individual problem. How can a population all be getting fatter all together? We as a nation are getting bigger and bigger. So it can't be an individual problem. An individual problem would be people here and there, not a whole population. And there are statistics that actually show by the year 2025, it's predicted that the Australian obesity rate will be 83% males and 75% females will be overweight or obese. Now that's a staggering number. And you know, the associated risk factors with obesity are things like type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, osteoarthritis, some cancers, and major depression. So these diseases contribute to a shorter lifespan and actually cost money for our health, and you know, put a burden on our health resources. So of course it's a problem and we need to be addressing this. How we do it? Well, that's another issue, but yes, as a country and a nation, we are getting larger and larger, and something needs to be done. So there are different reasons why people eat. Some see food as an addiction. Some people eat because they're bored. Some people eat because they're stressed. You know, if you're feeling a bit stressed, you go and eat a chocolate bar, or you know, or if you're bored at night or you're watching TV, it's very easy to go to the cupboard, choose something out, and nibble, nibble, nibble. Not a good thing. Then there are other reasons, say, of abuse, maybe eating is a way to deal with things like that. So there's a number of reasons why people eat. And I'd just like to share with you some of the some quotes from the participants in my research study, which indicate how difficult it is to lose weight and sustain it. So just listening, I'll share them with you. So one of the first ones was, let's go. Here's a direct quote from one of the participants. Every night I'd sabotage myself and I'd go to bed thinking, why did I just do that? I need to stop this. And I couldn't. Mentally, I could not stop it. As much as I knew it was wrong, I would sabotage myself every day. Now, for that person, that's her day. Be good, and then exercise, eat right all day, and then at night, sabotage yourself. Eat the kids' food, her food, go to the fridge and eat a whole box of ice cream. She would sabotage herself. And another participant said, I honestly felt like I'm just going to get bigger and bigger, like I would never lose weight and just go back to my normal, like big size. I would lose weight and then go bigger and bigger, and I'd lose weight and go bigger and bigger and bigger. And you know what? Every time I went on a diet and failed, I just felt like an idiot, like a loser, that I couldn't stick to anything, like a pig. So as a public, as a person, if you're not overweight, if you're not in the obese classification, well, that's great, you're healthy. But we shouldn't be looking at people who are overweight and obese and thinking, oh, they're fat and lazy. We as a nation are getting bigger. There's a reason for that, and we're going to talk about that in one of the next myths. Myth number 3, it's my fault that I'm overweight. Well, it could be your fault if you're eating junk food and not moving, because they contribute to weight gain. However, there are other things that contribute to our unhealthy lifestyle choices. Are 1, mega food companies who have energy dense food. So these foods are full of carbohydrates and sugar. So that could be an issue and something that needs addressing. Medications, medical conditions, the environment, and really we can only blame genetic factors for about 10%. So if that's been an excuse for you, stop using it. It doesn't work. Only 10% is about how much genetics affect obesity. Many parents of smaller children think that if their kids are overweight, they're going to grow out of it. Well, I'm here to tell you that studies are showing that this is not the case. If you have overweight children, they are more likely to be overweight as adults. And they will also develop things like medical conditions such as diabetes and cardiovascular disease at a younger age. In fact, globally, in 2016, the number of overweight children under the age of 5 was estimated to be something like 41 million people. Kids, children, and surprisingly, half of all the overweight children under 5 years lived in places like Asia, and a quarter lived in Africa. Now, I'm not making these numbers up. I've included the links below. Check them out for yourself. Myth number 4, developing countries don't have problems with obesity. Globally. So globally is worldwide, inclusive of developing countries. Obesity is a health concern. The prevalence is highest in developed countries such as Australia, America, Canada. The prevalence is higher, but concerningly, the incidence of obesity is trending upwards in middle to low income countries. And this is given, the reasons for this are given as urbanisation, so there's more growth in the cities, more buildings, people move into the cities, they're closer to things. As income increases, so as people's income increases, they tend to eat different foods. Sometimes they go away more from their more traditional foods that they've been used to eating and choose to eat Western food, which is energy dense, full of carbohydrates and sugar. So these are some of the problems that are happening. So it's not just developed, it's developing countries that are also struggling with obesity as an issue. Okay, so the last myth is myth number 5, which is weight loss surgery will help me lose weight. Well, it can, but there's a number of things that you need to know about before you decide to have weight loss surgery, and there's a number of support structures that you, if you're considering it, need to have in place. So we're going to talk about them in the next clip, which will be next week. So subscribe below, and that way you'll know when my next clip is uploaded. However, bariatric surgery is understood to mitigate, which means to prevent further health issues, with diabetes and cardiovascular disease. It's seen as a treatment that can help prevent those or decrease the incidence or severity of that particular disease by losing weight. Losing weight, a lot of these factors, medical conditions actually disappear. So by losing weight, there is no further need to be on hypertension medications, diabetes medications. Often these things are cured with weight loss. Doesn't mean you have to have surgery, but does surgery work? Well, that's something to stay tuned for. However, just so that you know, obesity has now been termed a disease, which means it has a number that can be charged for health funds. So this means that, in a way, you're now responsible for yourself because you have a disease. And to a certain degree, it limits the government and from actually taking steps to prevent obesity. We need to be doing more, targeting target populations to actually educate, because we are just getting bigger and bigger as a country, nation, and as globally. So it has to be done. Not everyone can afford bariatric surgery. However, that's why obesity, the term obesity or obesity, is now considered a disease, because it is attached to a lot of other medical conditions. So the medical fraternity have decided that if they can label it, then it can be treated, and bariatric surgery is considered a very good means of treating obesity. So whether that works long term is what we're going to talk about next week. I would suggest to you that before you consider bariatric surgery, there are a lot of things that you need to consider and be aware of, and sometimes these aren't discussed in your consultation with your bariatric surgeon. So this information is directly from participants who have been in my research study, their experiences, so I'll be sharing that with you as well, and how they felt and what they did and what they suggested could be improved as well. So we're going to be looking at some of those things in next week. So thanks for listening to me, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next week. Bye.